This is Loren Lockman from the Tangled Wilderness, and I've got a question today about feeding children. Needless to say, many parents find dealing with feeding their children in a healthy way a difficult task, and made, I'm sure, ever much more difficult with the plethora of advertisements advertising all kinds of junk food to children, with the peer pressure from kids who are, their friends are eating all kinds of garbage. And yet, it's interesting to me how many times I'll hear people say, my clients will tell me that their children won't eat certain things. That is to say, they won't eat healthy. They're not willing to eat fruit. They're not willing to eat salad. And of course, depending on how old the children are, it changes quite a bit. I was talking with a client this morning who has children who are 14 and 17. And at 14 and 17, it's a little hard to force those kids to do anything. I mean, they're pretty mobile. They're going to do whatever they choose to do. They probably have ways to access to money. They're going to eat what they want to eat. You can positively influence them. And the ideal situation would be to be educating your children from the earliest age possible. But if you're sitting here with children right now, whatever age they are, you want to sit down and have an honest conversation with them. And I've found that many clients have had the experience that talking even to a child that is 2 years old, a 2-year-old is old enough to understand simple language like, honey, mommy loves you, and so from now on, we're only going to have fill in the blank. Or we're no longer going to have this because mommy loves you and wants you to be healthy. Any child can understand that. I've met very few 2, 3, 5, 6-year-olds, 10-year-olds that do the grocery shopping. So, I would say, and many people say to me, well, I don't want to force this on my children. I would remind you that although obviously, our role as parents is to guide children until they get to the point that they can make their own intelligent, informed choices. But when a child is 3, 5, 10, even 15 years old, they're not necessarily informed, mature, or responsible enough to make the best choices on their own. As a parent, I believe you actually have a responsibility to be directing them, at least guiding them. I mean, they may still choose to do whatever they want, the 15-year-old, for instance, more so than the 3-year-old, but you can still do the best job possible to educate them, to explain to them, and most importantly, to model for them. Now, the issue here is that when a child is a certain age, if a child is 3 or 4 years old, they will often want what mommy and daddy are having. And so modeling is a really powerful, positive, beneficial technique. When a child is 12 or 13 or 14, they will often want to do exactly the opposite of what mommy and daddy are doing. And so modeling may be less powerful then. I mean, this is again why ideally we give the children this excellent guidance from the earliest age possible. And the best way would be to only have those things in the house that you want your children to eat. So you're never saying you can't have that. If it's something they shouldn't be eating, why would it be in your house anyway, right? I believe in letting children choose, but in letting them choose from among those things that are actually healthy for them. So a kid wants a snack, you say, sure, honey, would you like an apple or a banana? Your choice, right? But, I wouldn't say, would you like an apple or a bag of Fritos, right? Because Fritos is garbage, it's toxic garbage, it's crap, it's going to make the kids sick, it's going to suck the water out of their body, it's going to fill them up with all kinds of toxic stuff. So, again, you can't control what your child is going to do in every situation, but you can control what happens in your household. And if you're setting the example, and you're being a good role model, and you are having honest conversation with your children, I think you're going to find that you're going to help them, you're going to guide them in such a way that even though they may purposefully rebel at times and do things that only because you don't want them to, you're going to set a great foundation that they're going to wind up coming back to over and over again. And there's research today that proves what a difference this makes, how much difference a child's diet makes. It's in a school district in Oakland, California. They took all the soda and candy machines out of the school, and they saw delinquency and all kinds of problems in the school disappeared. I mean, dramatically reduced, because these children were no longer running around all day hopped up on sugar and caffeine. Not to mention all the chemicals and all the processed garbage that children eat. But just getting the caffeine and sugar out of the school made an enormous difference. And so you can make an enormous difference for your child or for your children by guiding them in this way, and by remembering that you have a responsibility to help them make good choices until they're old enough to be able to make them on their own. Okay, so don't shy away from that. I think too many parents want to be their child's best friend and forget that, well, that's fine as long as it doesn't conflict with their job of guiding their children into adulthood in a way that is healthy and sustainable and is actually going to help them create the future that they want for themselves and you want for your children.